Hi, and welcome to Raising Greats, a place where we talk to parents who have raised successful and sometimes professional people so that those of us who are raising kids now know what it takes to raise, well, a great. Today we're talking to Tom and Pam Quigley, parents of Molly Quigley Monkoff, who is a former Team USA professional figure skater. She also was a professional cheerleader for both the NFL and the NHL. Thank you guys so much for being here. Can you tell us a little bit about how this journey started for you?
Well, Molly was the youngest of the bunch. We have two older boys that were skating at the time that she took her first steps on the ice. She was about 3 or 4, and the third kid was free, so we jumped on it, and she learned to skate in hockey skates first, and then she was in a class, and they did a little beginner hockey game, and she saw Dad with the camera and skated over to Dad and took off from the team. So we kind of thought maybe she wasn't going to be a team player. And then we got her into figure skating when she was about 6. And she started off in group lessons, and it was kind of gradual.
Yeah, so I love that you mentioned that you have the two older boys who were already in ice skating and the third one was free. That that's awesome because I know when I was younger, my mom and dad wanted to get me into ice skating lessons and they did, and we did it for a season, but it became pretty pricey, and at that time it didn't really fit the budget, and so they had to take me out of it. And as I was speaking to my mom yesterday about doing this interview with you all, she said, "Oh, I just wish that you could have we could have afforded to be able to have you continue." So the third kid free ended up really launching this huge career path for her. So that's really something, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it was expensive.
I know that a child's career path, a successful career, is paved by parental sacrifice. So, were there things that you had to put on the back burner for the two of you, like maybe vacations or home renovations or new vehicles, so that you could pour money into sports?
I only worked part-time so I could get them to their sports, and we took turns with the boys. At first, it wasn't that bad. It was doable. And then we didn't ski in the winter. We just were at the ice rink all the time. So
Vacations were at the rink.
yeah, vacations were to a rink.
Her two brothers were playing hockey. They had 80-game schedules for 10 years, so they were pretty busy. We were at the rink all the time.
So, how did you manage having three children? The two boys were in hockey, and then Molly was still at the rink with her ice skating, but I'm sure they were all very different schedules.
We had grandparents that would help out if we needed it. But one weekend, he was in Canada with one boy, and I was in
Right.
Rhode Island with the other boy, and Molly just tagged along. But she didn't just tag along. She liked to be on the ice before their games started. She would do a little show. She just kind of wanted to be in the limelight no matter what.
And she did cheerleading when she was younger with the high school, the older boys' high school team.
Wow.
With the
So
varsity
super
team.
busy.
Yeah. Her brother went to high school, and she wanted to be with the cheerleaders, and she'd memorize the cheers and go out on the field with them.
I love that. So she's always loved performing.
Yes.
Okay. So at an early age, could you see that this was a path that might be her in her future, or was it something that you didn't quite see until later in her life?
I would say a little bit later.
Yeah.
When she came to Nashville.
Okay. Yeah. And how would you all be involved in her practicing? Would you get out there on the ice rink with her, or would it be more at home? You're practicing with her, like stretching, or was it just completely self-motivation for her?
Self-motivation.
And she never refused to go to practice when we were getting up at 4:30 in the morning. There was never, oh, I don't feel like it. So we just kept going. It really got more serious when she came to Nashville and had a pair partner.
When she left home.
And I came
Okay.
with her. I came with her for 2 years. She finished high school, and she did cheerleading in high school and fit that in, even when I said no. But she did it anyways. She had to figure it out. She had to get a job and pay for some of that, and she still continued skating. So
And so when she moved to Nashville, you said you moved with her. Was that for her, like, for a support system, for her to have you there to help her with like cooking and like all the motherly things, or what was your motivation for coming with her?
I took 2 years off from, because by then we moved to Virginia and the skating was not like what we were used to in New England. And we said, oh, we're like in a no zone, what are we going to do? And then she got an invitation to try out with a couple boys to be a pair partner, which is a little bit better because there's not as many kids in pairs as single girls at that point. So I came out and the coaches helped me get an apartment here. And I had 4 other skaters living with me. So that helped support that. And I worked at the rink and her ice was free. And her dance class at that point was included too in the free stuff. So
Right.
I worked at the ice rink. So
You were all in.
Yes,
that's all I had to do. He just had to stay home and work.
Yeah.
It was really kind of, it was enjoyable for me too, because then I got to watch her practice.
So she was about 15 when she came to Nashville.
And that's when it started getting more serious.
Right. Yeah. At 15, I would definitely want to go with my daughter too. I wouldn't want to just send her.
The coaches were very good here where they set up a program at the local public school, and she had to go to school from 9 to 2 for courses, and she got credit for skating for her gym class and things like that. So the coaches set up a program when she went part-time to school. And they got up at 4:30 in the morning. Glad I wasn't there. And she would skate till 9, and then she'd go to school from 9 to 2 and go back to the rink from 2 to whatever and finish skating for the day.
Wow. Were you ever really afraid of injuries, or were you okay to let all of your kids, because they're all playing a pretty dangerous sport? How did you walk that fine line of being worried about injuries and holding them back versus saying, you know what, if they get injured, we'll just deal with it?
It was more of if they get injured, we'll deal with it. I was concerned a lot with Molly skating with her partner that was 6 feet tall, 6'2" or something, and he would lift her over her head, and she was at the height of the glass. And we had seen some incidents where, the girl has fallen, and there was some pretty bad incidents and some disfiguration of the people that got hurt. So I was always nervous about that. I think the code was the girl never hits the ice. That was
Don't you drop me.
for the pair partner, is the girl doesn't hit the ice. You get between her and the ice somehow, and it worked. Anyways.
Yeah, versus your sons playing hockey where it's like, no, you can pretty much body slam them down.
With a hockey, you get an injury or at least a scratch or a cut, you just take 2 aspirin to it and go on.
Our older son got hurt in soccer and messed up his senior year of hockey. He had a ACL, but he worked back and got into college with it. So, but he missed his senior year.
He went on to play some minor league hockey.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome that he was able to continue even after that injury. I hate to hear about the injury, but the fact that he
was pretty
worked through it.
Yeah, I think they only got caught once, and they had to stop the program. Her partner skate cut her across the knee, and they had to stop the competition, and they got a buy-in that year or something because of that. Yeah,
Yeah, she did get hurt
it
once.
happens.
Oh, we didn't talk about injuries. She did have a quote, though, from one of her coaches. How high I aim, how much I see, how far I reach depends on me.
And she
But
reached very high.
she did. She did. It was a fun ride. It really was.
Yeah.
You
And
got
so she went into being one of the ice skaters for the Nashville Predators. How did that journey happen? How did that opportunity happen?
Well, when they first came to town, it was like a pep club. They wanted like 12 people to go through the stands and, hype the people. But being at the rink and stuff, I'm sure she just met people from the
She knew.
organization.
Yeah, she was with the Predators for about 12 years, I think.
And I'm sure watching her brothers play hockey and being in that hockey environment, she felt right at home. And probably for you all too. You were like, this just fits our family. With her brother, she's a competitor, and so are they. So was there a lot of competition at home?
Every day, all the time. It was.
They would tease her a lot, but she'd give it back. I think they
She's
made
probably
it.
like, I can see circles around you.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there's a lot of competitiveness throughout the family.
I love that though. And so that's something that you have to be a professional athlete is you have to have that competition and that drive within you.
That I have heart and grit.
Heart and grit. Yes. So you said that there wasn't a lot of, or there was never really a time where she would complain about going to practice or anything like that. But being the parents of athletes, I'm sure you had to push them in certain ways to really pursue their dreams. I know there are times, especially during like teenage years, where maybe they're just tired one day and they don't really have it in them. Were you all really driving them to think about like this moment here could affect a lifelong career, or how did you encourage and drive them in the direction that you wanted them to go?
The only time I can think about pushing was possibly at one time she was on the ice and there was a lot of hanging around the boards, uh, drinking and just goofing off and things. And I think I spoke to her once. And I says, five times is expensive. You need to use it at, at at the time that you need to use it and not waste it. And I think I said that once.
Hmm. Yeah, that's actually really great advice. I know my son's soccer coach, after one of their games that they lost, and you could tell that they just did not try their hardest as a team. And later we found out that the coach told the team, your parents pay a lot of money for you to be in this sport. They spend a lot of time here. For you not to give it your all is unacceptable. You need to give it your all and really value the time and effort your parents are putting into this. If you don't want to do it, that's fine. You can step back and step away from it. But if you do want to do it, then we need to use our time wisely. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that with me. So with practices, you said you pretty much lived at the rinks and they can be so long. Did you drop and go, or did you stay at the rinks? And if so, what would you do during that practice time?
We took turns going when she was in Massachusetts. We took turns, and she had some practices on school nights, and she would do her homework on the way back home in the car, and she would do them there. But we would tend to watch practice, but basically stay out of the way.
But usually the ride to the practice rink was over an hour, so we wouldn't go back home. But when I was in Nashville, I worked at the rink, so
That's a lot of commitment to drive the hour. You as a family, you had to be committed to this.
I must say that we were never late in 20 years, I guess. It was just a commitment you make and you go forward. And if the kids wanted to quit hockey, okay, do something else. And I always wanted to get them involved into some other sports during the summers, so they can meet different kids, play different sports, have different coaches, and just get new ideas on how to compete if they wanted to, and it fulfilled their desires to compete. And I think competing grew because of that too. And so kids, I think, should play different sports um, to help breed that type of character within themselves.
Yes, I agree with that. And so when you said you were never late that you can recall, you were never late to a practice, that really shows the family commitment there. And I see it across multiple sports all the time where it's not a family commitment, and so the kids are missing practices, even though they might have a desire to be there, that the family has other priorities in front of this sport for their child or just whatever that interest might be. I love how you're showing that this was a family commitment. You saw that your children loved this, that they were good at it, that they had the commitment. So then you're going to match their commitment.
Right.
Right.
I think it gets more difficult nowadays because kids have much, much more opportunities out there to play. So I think figure skate is starting to fall behind a little bit because it takes such a commitment. And there are just so many other things kids can do nowadays that they feel they get rewarded for, and they have to put less time and effort into it.
That is really interesting. And I can see where you're coming from with that for sure. We're such an instant gratification society. And the kids now have just learned that they can, like you said, get rewarded much faster. So, with that, this was a long road of getting, putting day in, day out practice, putting that time and dedication towards what would end up becoming very successful. But you and Molly, you didn't know exactly where this would lead and where this would land.
No, clueless. She had the grit to go skating, and I'd watch practice, and she would practice, for 2-3 hours, and she would fall how many times in an hour and how many
One
times
thing. Well,
on one thing, yeah,
just
one
trying
whether it
to
was a
get
double
it
Lutz,
done.
triple Lutz, whatever. She would fall, and she had the sponge in her pants at the right spot, but she would get up, and she would get up.
Getting up and continuing and trying is something that can be self-motivation, but I also feel like it is taught. And I'm sure that you all definitely had an impact on her in teaching her to get back up and to try. So when you would see her emotions get the best of her because maybe she just couldn't get a move down and she would just fall over and over and over, how would you help her through that emotional process?
We never really saw it that much. She hit it well. She kept it internalized and came back and did it again.
Wow, she's pretty strong, not Molly. There are so many times where parents that we get frustrated because we'll drive an hour to a game or a competition or an hour to practice only to hear from the back seat, um, I forgot my skate or
Yeah. Well, it didn't happen
Six.
much with Molly as much as it happened with the boy. The boys would forget something, and we just if we were quite a ways out for it, we would just go and okay, that's where we are. You're gonna have to watch. Well, your teammates play, and next time maybe you remember the things that you need to bring. When they hit 12 and up, it's their duty to maintain their equipment. Even though you teach them how to maintain it, wipe off the skate blades and make sure they're covered and etc. It becomes their responsibility, and they need to handle their responsibility. I coached hockey for about 28 years, and I had my older boy playing on the team with me, and he forgot his shoulder pads, and it was a college level game, and he didn't have shoulder pads, so he stuffed some socks up underneath his shoulders so they perked up a little bit. And then the other guys in the team looked at him. Are you going to play like that? He goes, well, yeah, I'm here. And he played the game and just didn't get into any of the shenanigans that go on. So.
Right. He was sure to keep some space in between he and the other players, probably.
Yeah. Don't start anything you don't finish.
Wow, that's you know what? It creates an opportunity to get creative and problem solve.
Yes.
And
Sure does.
that's a whole nother teaching moment that you
Yep.
have and that he has, and a funny story now on this side of it.
Right.
Was it hard as the parents? Was it hard not to criticize the judges when you felt like your little girl did a perfect job, and then all of a sudden you see maybe a score that you thought didn't match her performance?
It happens. I mean, figure skating is very point here, point there. A couple times I could see that, maybe their elements were harder than the other couple, but the other couple had been skating longer. So, but, and then the next time it worked the other way for somebody else. But we never talked about it. We never, like, oh, you did better. Or I don't remember talking like that. She would have her space before and after she skated, and it was time with her coach. So I didn't see a lot of, that end of it.
Speaking of her coach, how was it for you all to be able to release your baby girl to somebody who's going to be very probably hard on her performance and her practice? Like, walk me through that. How was that process for you?
Well, I think every coach she had really adored her from the beginning, and it was all positive. So I'm happy for that. Her two coaches, when she came to Nashville, were a husband and wife. The husband had gone to the Olympics in pair skating, and they just took over. The mom coach would go with the girls a lot of times when her husband wasn't needed. We got along great.
It's great.
They did a lot for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and with Tom, you said that you coached for, was it 26 years you coached hockey?
28.
28 years.
Yeah.
So you're on that side of it where you will probably understand the coach's expectations, and it was probably a little bit easier for you to release her to a coach. But maybe I'm wrong. Talk to me about your experience.
Well, it was, they made us feel comfortable enough to let her go. Let's put it that way. She was young, 15 years old, is pretty young. And when she first went out, she lived with a family, and that wasn't seemed to work out all that well. And that's when Pam went out, about 3 or 4 months later,
Yeah.
and they set up an apartment to handle all the kids that were there. But to release your daughter to, a 15-year-old girl to the coaches, you need to be aware of what's going on, and have a good open communication. I think one of the other hardest parts of that too is you release in pair skating, you released your daughter to the pair skater also. And so you need, I mean, she drove away in his truck first time, and I was like, oh, this is it. And so, but you gotta have some trust in people, and good communication, and stay aware.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with all of that, about how it probably was hard to release her, but with the right communication, with the right trust, and I'm sure that you did your due diligence in checking these people out and making sure that they were going to take real good care of her, and then you, Pam, joining her.
I felt something was missing, so it's like it worked out for both of us.
Yeah, yeah. And now you both are close by at least for half of the year. And
We are, and we're enjoying our grandchildren.
I bet that's wonderful. Now, are they skating as well?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
they've all
Yes.
been on this ice.
He has 4 boys. They've all have skates on, and the youngest, and
He's two.
he's 2. He's got some skates on. 2 older ones are playing hockey. One's playing for the junior Preds. And yeah, there's the other one in the Nashville hockey group. So they're getting their dose time going to the rink.
We're still like,
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's just
the
it
route.
sounds like it's just in the Quigley blood.
And I guess. My folks are my brothers and sisters. No one's ever done anything as far as the ice is concerned. So it's quite. I guess it came from Pam,
My mother loved to skate. She was on pond skating.
and I always liked hockey. And
Yeah, we always skated when we were kids on the up north. You know, things freeze over, so you go on the lakes or
go skiing, go skating.
Yeah, I mean that you had the environment to just be out on the ice all of the time, and so that's what your environment lent itself to, and so you took advantage of it, and I love that. Were there many warm vacations that you took, or was it just all ice?
Well, Molly did skate for a cruise line, and so we got a couple of cruises out of it. She did cruise lines.
oh, it all got better.
She did cruise lines for 2 or 3 years, and on Royal Caribbean she skated, and so we were able to get a couple of cruises out of that.
Nice. You're
I
like,
think,
this is payback. This is my time.
yeah, I think she did like 90 cruises in her career.
Knowing that she got to do the show skating later was what she wanted to do. She made bucket lists. When Titans came to Nashville,
That was a whole.
she said, well, I'm going to cheer for them someday. And she made it happen.
I remember going to that tryout for a Titans cheerleader, and I was so taken aback because I said, "Oh, this is just tryout." I mean, we've had how many tryouts? It's like life's blood tryouts, and there's people everywhere carrying signs with the pictures of their daughters and things, and I'm like, "What is this?" I was so taken back of all the people and the showmanship of the whole thing. I was like, "Oh, is this really competitive or is it show?" I think there's more show.
Yeah, that's well, where you had already been in a space of going to practices and tryouts, and not just for Molly, but for your boys and hockey. Like, and probably never did you think about taking a sign with their picture, especially your boys. That would mortify them.
No, never do that.
I think
Yeah,
it's awesome that you were there to help support her, even though you didn't have a big sign, that you were there, that you were there to support her, because I feel like with a lot of athletes, having that parental support, whether it's just knowing that your mom and dad are there supporting you, to the financial support, to the doing like you said, you were kind of like the house mom for 4 or 5 girls, right? Like that's so important, and I'm sure is what helped her move to the next stage and not get stuck at maybe one of the lower levels of skating. So
Right. Well,
I really love that.
it did take off in Nashville. And she did skate all over the world after. So all the work that they put in as a pair and a single skater, pays off at the end, and and she just loved being in the shows. So it worked out.
yeah, and they made the U.S. figure skating team. And that was a pretty proud moment.
Yeah.
And she skated international, which was great.
Parents and I went to Croatia to see her skate with her partner.
I worked.
Yeah, he had work.
Isn't that the story that the dad has to stay back behind and work to pay for all of it?
Life as it is. Things turned out well. We're happy with the ride that it went. So, and now she's
absolutely. You've created memories for your whole family, even though I'm sure sometimes it seemed like a lot, but these were core bonding memories that you're now passing down through kind of your family generations, now that your grandkids are experiencing some of this stuff and you're able to communicate with them. Oh, that, one time I had to do this for your mom, or this one time where I went to Croatia with your mom. And now they're understanding, wow, this is something that our family all has in common. And I think it just bonds together when you have something in common that you can all share. It's been so wonderful chatting with both of you. You've given me so much information, and I know that so many parents that are in the trenches of trying to figure out the path for their children and potentially raising children that are going to pursue dreams like this as well. I know that they're going to grab onto every single word that you said and really hold it in their heart. And when they're at those crossroads of trying to make decisions, they're going to have people like you that they can learn from and go back and rewatch and say, you know, like, what was it that Tom, you know, told Molly when she was not using her ice rink at the, you know, for the right thing. So they're going to be able to lean on the experiences of other people and then create their own experiences. So thank you so, so much for taking the time with me. And I wish you all the happiest time with your grandkids on the ice. And I hope many, many more trips around the world watching
Well,
your family in
thank-
their element.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Enjoy the ride.
enjoy the ride.
It's,
Yeah.
it's short.
Trust your kid.
Thank you for listening to the Raising Greats podcast. Stay tuned as we have so many more episodes to upload, including raising an American Ninja Warrior, raising a professional actress, raising professional models, and raising dream chasers. Make sure that you hit that subscribe button and the little bell to notify you when we upload an episode. And please share with your friends. Thanks again for listening. We hope you have a great day. Bye.